Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask for a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. I want to welcome everybody's here and that watching or will be watching. Next thing is roll call. I'm going to start with Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Steven.
Here.
Mr. Jeff Culberson.
Here.
Mr. Becky Cause.
Here.
And Mike Smith and me. We're all here. Okay, public comment. Mark, I don't believe there was any. Okay. Not. We'll move on to administrative business. Mark, you have it.
Commissioners, just I sent you an email earlier today, but just to let you know that Tonganoxie, who was here for the work session and had originally been interested in jointly applying for the base grant with the county, last night their city commission decided that they had another project they were going to pursue, and so I received an email from the city administrator this morning saying that they were pulling out of that original agreement and they won't be approving the funding agreement that we had sent them.
Okay.
Was there a council meeting last night because of Monday being the holiday?
I didn't ask that. It was.
I know it was last night.
It was last night.
It was last night.
I talked to George twice, and they just have another project they feel like will be more to their interest.
There were some concerns on the time. I just don't see how they could have got that project done in the time, then you don't want to give that money back.
The state did make it short time. Anything else, Mark?
No, sir.
I had something, Mike.
Jeff, go ahead.
So I just wanted to address everybody about we had a big fire in Easton at the landfill yesterday. Looked more like a volcano erupted, I think. Four different fire departments responded. Nobody was hurt, which is a good thing because the temperatures were so cold. The water they put on turned to ice, so there was a lot of ice to deal with. I think one firefighter slipped on the ice, and that's about all that came out of that. So they did a good job there. But it was put out by the news yesterday that the owner said that he still has a permit to operate, which I just want to clarify that to the local people. Technically he does, but we ordered a cease and desist order 3 weeks ago, so they can't take any more debris on site until we get this worked out. We were in the middle of working on the issues that caused some of the problems when this fire happened. So we've been talking to the owners the last couple of months about some changes that need to be made. State Fire Marshal, KDHE, and the county are working on this, and we set a date of March 14th. I think the cease and desist order runs until we can get some things worked out.
That's good, because I know we chatted about that, and we'd stopped that because of all the concerns that you had, and you left the charge on that, Jeff, and I appreciate that. Any other commissioners have anything?
I have a question on that for staff. Do we need to set a hearing or a review of that SUP?
Well, Commissioners, you certainly have that prerogative. As Commissioner Culberson stated, a letter was sent to Flatland Excavating stating that in conjunction with a letter they'd received from KDHE, they were to present to both KDHE and the county remediation plans to address the number of issues identified in the KDHE letter, not later than March 14th. Dependent upon what is produced between now and that date, the concept of bringing the matter before the board could be re-examined at that time.
Sounds like we're in the right direction. It just happened all of a sudden, and we knew there was an issue, so that's a good thing we're on top of it anyway. I just have one thing. I was going to check and see, instead of waiting late, Are y'all folks are going to do the, and Becky asked me to check, St. Patty's Parade? Is anybody going to be in that?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Are we doing it singular, or I can't walk? Or are we going to do it?
You riding back my truck?
I
I was going to do it.
I can't do that again, Jeff.
I was going to do it individually, but I can, if we want to find a way of doing a truck, I mean,
Okay. Last year was pretty cold.
Yeah, it was.
it was cold.
Yeah, we were in the back of the trailer.
Well, just something to think about if say we want to go that
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah, well, I figure we can go together.
Yeah.
I can get a flatbed. I'm pretty sure.
Give me up, I'll just leave you there. Don't let me.
Well, we can get you inside.
Yeah, that'd be nice too.
What about roller skates for you?
Mike. I can't walk. You're going to see me skate. Okay, so I'll let Beck know that we're planning on doing something together, a lot of us.
Then you just have to decorate it. Okay.
Get my color in it. Have a bunch of grandkids.
We'll get it decorated.
Anything
All right.
else on that before we move on? Okay. Move to the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled off the consent agenda before I ask for a motion? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? I'll start the roll call. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Commissioner Cos?
Nay.
And I'm voting aye. Okay. Moving on to formal board action. Consider a motion to approve the updated Leavenworth County Employee Handbook.
Commissioners, over the last several years, the board has approved some standalone policies. This consolidated personnel manual just implements most of those policies, and then the rest of the changes are primarily either explanatory or just grammatical in nature. So there aren't any new policy changes. It's just, again, implementing them into our personnel manual policies already approved by the board. And I did try to highlight any areas that had been updated.
I just had one question.
Mike?
On the excessive tardiness, it said being tardy twice in a 30-day period. Does it reset after the 30 days? Is that how that works?
Twice.
It is after 30 days, then you can be tardy twice again. All right.
And one thing and I probably should know this, but I don't. You know, when somebody comes in impaired, I was trying to find out where it gave a layout of how you, and David, this is probably more for you, how you say a person's impaired when you ask them to test. I know if you have an accident in a vehicle or something like that, but what other mechanism? I mean, my normal, being an old police officer, DUI and stuff like that. But is there a way, do we give training on that, or for supervisors, or?
Commissioners, that's an excellent idea. And I'll tell you, if we were a private business, you could test at will.
Right.
However, we're government, and the U.S. Constitution and the Kansas Constitution prohibit unreasonable searches and seizures, which a test is. So consequently, there needs to be a reasonable suspicion or belief that an employee is impaired before you can request testing. Now, we do have post-accident testing requirements, and those have passed legal muster. As far as training people to be able to recognize signs of impairment, that's probably a good idea. I mean, extreme cases are obvious, but lesser cases, as you stated from your training as a police officer, you do receive specific training to detect that. And perhaps supervisors should be given that training.
It was just a thought. Mark, what are your thoughts on
Well, I suppose, we have a field trip and take them out, and take some of the supervisors out and show them what it looks like to when there's impaired people. But I'll look and see if there's some video training.
Mark, are you impaired this morning? I'm going to ask
No,
you.
there's,
sir.
there's obvious things you can, there's things like,
Well, Commissioners, you
well, there are things like smell something's breath, or if
But
somebody
David said
smells like.
the St. Patrick's Day Parade may be an opportunity for some of that training.
Yeah. Well, mine's not so much for alcohol, or vodka or stuff that's like that. But we all know there's all
More
kind of drugs
marijuana.
and all the drugs on
Well,
the
you
market
gotta smell
now
that sometimes.
that you can
The reasonable cause makes it. I think that it's a kind of difficult for us in some instances without some kind of an accident or something. But
And see, that's where
really, because we have to defend ourselves in court, it has to be pretty overt.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. If you had something, just a thought, if you had something that was a guideline for it, because every one of us in this room may look at somebody different than what they are. So, one of the reasons I ran is I want to get rid of the lawsuits in Leavenworth County, which this board has done a great job, and the staff has done a great job of cooking behind us, getting like that. It's just a question. If it doesn't fit the scheme of things, that's fine. But I just wanted to
I'll
throw that
definitely
out
look.
there.
I'll look into it and see if there is any kind of a video training or other training available.
And maybe stop. Maybe I'm overstepping and going too far. It's just a thought.
Question to follow up
Yeah.
on that. If there's positions that are safety sensitive, then they are eligible for random drug testing, correct?
No,
No,
not
because
in our case. Safety sensitive allows you to set up in certain very specific cases. Commissioner, for example, the railroad industry.
Or CDL if you drive a truck?
Quite frankly, it has to be more than that.
Really?
Yes. My advice to the board would be to have random testing done at a minimal level, but rely more upon reasonable belief and suspicion testing. And the reason being, because we are a governmental entity, we have to be able to defend each and every search and seizure, which is a test that we conduct. So consequently, random testing is perilous, quite frankly, from a legal perspective for the county. Leavenworth County at one time did have a random drug testing policy, and it was challenged in federal court, and the county did resolve the matter, but it was expensive. So I understand the concerns you have, in particular with your background in such a safety-sensitive industry, but to randomly test even what we perceive to be safety-sensitive employees causes problems. I'll give you an example of one of the landmark cases. U.S. Treasury agents who carry firearms and drive around with those firearms are not safety-sensitive to the level where they can be subject to random testing.
I think a lot of things have changed in the last few years. A lot of folks used to do random testing.
Oh, the county was.
The city, I know everybody used to do it before, but I think because of what you're saying, David, people's kind of got away at it. And I'm not saying everybody should be watching, look at us like that. I'm just wanting to make sure that we're not over aggressive at the same times where I'm going with it.
Now, Commissioner Stephen does bring a good point, and Leavenworth County is required to have some minimal level of random testing for some of our CDL operators.
Right.
But generally, that benchmark is moving further and away from truly random testing.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I've said enough on this. Anybody else on this on the manual?
No, we've already went over all this.
Looks like it's pretty well put together to me.
It seems like we just did this. Doug and I were on the Personnel Advisory
Oh,
Board
good. Okay.
20 years ago.
Okay.
We had meetings and meetings, and
Yeah, they
200
tend to go
people would show
forever.
up at
Yeah.
the first meeting, and then by the time we got to the last meeting, about 5 people showed up, so we figured we probably had it down.
Okay.
It looks like a well put together manual. though.
Yeah, it covers everything. I thought it was too. Hats off to everybody who's a part of that. Okay, if that's the case, I'll take a motion to approve the updated Leavenworth County Employee Handbook.
Motion to approve?
Second. Any more discussion? Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
And I'm voting aye. Very good. All right. Consider a motion to approve the 2022 Solid Waste Committee members. Morning.
So every year, we have to bring before any changes to you, and every 5 years, we have to update our solid waste plan. There wasn't a lot of changes to it.
This is the committee appointments.
Oh, we're on the committee.
The first one's the committee appointments. Tammy.
Oh, okay.
We told you lately how much we appreciate the job you do out there, Tammy.
Thank you.
It's starting to really show.
Just looking for committee members.
Yeah, there hasn't really been any changes to the committee.
Okay. Is the private hauler, is that still the owner of that business? Is it? Okay. Lucky we have good people that volunteer their time to do this.
Absolutely.
You need a motion on that?
Yes, sir. No.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the solid waste committee members.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
And I'm voting aye also. Okay, number C, consider a motion to approve Resolution 2022-6, adopting the 5-year solid waste management plan.
Okay. What, we do the transfer into these landfills. The landfills that we've used in the past, the one in Johnson County, one in Douglas County, how many years are left on them landfills? Does anyone know that?
The Ham one that we're in currently, we have to notify them if we're going out for an RFP by July 4th.
Oh, no, I meant the capacity for these landfills are full. Do we know how many years
Left.
that are left in these landfills? We got 100 years.
Yeah, there's a lot of years.
Oh, there's a lot of years. Okay.
In both of them.
Okay.
You won't be dealing with it, then.
So we don't have to start
Hope
thinking
not.
of a backup plan.
What do you say, Jeff?
So we don't have to start thinking about a backup plan anytime soon.
No,
Okay.
no.
I think that's where it's going.
And I can get the
Well,
exact
if it's-
time if you need to.
I mean, just so it's not 25 years from now or something.
No, I think it was like 50,
Okay.
and then I think Ham is like 90.
Okay.
And 50,
90 is a good number.
yeah, 90 is a good number. 50 could shrink depending on population, but
Okay. Just so we don't have to deal with it.
That's it.
yep, that's what I said. It's not going to be any time in our lifetimes.
All right.
Okay.
Any other?
At least not before I retire.
Okay. Well, I just did need a plan B. And
All right.
then, now you do take C&D, of course.
What was that?
You do take C&D construction
Yes, we do.
debris, so we do have a construction debris place to dispose of in the county. Probably not it's probably more expensive than the previous one that we were talking about earlier. Because it's just the same tipping fee, right?
It is.
Any other?
I just didn't want to see it all dumped out on the
One
roadside for
side.
Public
That's
Works
the-
to be
yeah,
cleaning up.
exactly.
So we've got to have a place to get rid of this stuff.
Yeah, because that's where it'll end up. And it has.
You probably need to put it out there and educate people that is available and not to, just remind people yet again. I mean, you do a good job of that, but just continue to remind people.
It's available. Yeah.
The
It's
other-
available.
The other landfills temporarily shut down.
Right, it's shut down temporarily, and don't forget that there's an option, and not to dump on the side of the road.
Yeah. Any other comments, concerns?
No.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve? Let's see.
Okay,
Did you?
nope, you don't.
Oh, okay. I was going to second it if you moved.
Okay, motion to approve Resolution 2022-6, adopting the 5-year solid waste management plan.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. Any more discussion on it? Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
And I'm voting aye. Very good. Okay.
Thank everybody that sits on that committee.
Yep.
Yeah.
They do a
Mike,
good
all you
job.
folks,
Thank you.
we
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. We appreciate it. Thank you, Tammy. Consider a motion to accept quote from Insight Direct for the purchase of Toughbook tablets in the amount of $37,624.60. Good morning.
Good morning. That's exactly what I'd
How are
like
you?
to do. Buy some tough books for EMS. Insight was a low quote. $37,624.60. This is paid for by the Information Systems Reserve, so I'm not asking for funds, just the Commission's approval, and then I'll go about buying these tough books.
You answered my question.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept a quote from Insight Direct for purchase of tough books, amount of $37,624.60.
I'll second it. Motion is second. Any discussion?
So do they currently have something similar, or what are they?
Tough books.
And this is just kind of like we're updating it.
The other ones are 5 years old. These are new.
Oh yeah, 5 years old. That's way.
Well, for what they do with them, these ride around in the ambulances.
Right,
So it's not a
Yeah.
problem to fling it over their shoulder because they're taking care of a patient. They do not treat them with a great deal of love or respect. So they take a lot of beatings.
So for the name, Tough Book.
Tough books.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
And I'll be voting aye also.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Consider a motion to award bid to Sands Construction for the crisis stabilization remodel for the guidance center area of the Cushing building. Good morning.
Morning.
Aaron.
As previously put together, we had contracted ACI Boland to design, and then later let a bid walkthrough on the joint venture that we have with the Guidance Center on the old emergency room side of the Cushing building. We had our bid openings. We had 7 general contractors show up. We had 2, lowest being both local. Sands Construction was the lowest. They have a 170-day turnaround time is what they're asking for. I had asked, just like with our Council on Aging, for ACI Boland to put together an AIA contract. Council has looked at it. We're looking to move forward. The Guidance Center is putting $100,000 in, while we're putting $800,000 in. So my total request is for $900,000 towards the Crisis Stabilization Center. Questions?
Mark, you have anything to add?
Commissioners, this is just, again, the progression of the project that the board had approved going out for bid on back when we first discussed the use of ARP funds. This is funded through the ARP program, and so there is a timeline on completion. And then I believe the $100,000 from the Guidance Center is coming from a grant through the state.
Okay, that's where I was going.
You ready for a motion?
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we award the bid to Sands Construction for the crisis stabilization remodel for the Guidance Center area of Cushing building. You need to put a dollar amount on it.
Amount not to exceed $900,000.
Not to exceed $900,000.
Very good. Second, motion second. Any more discussion? Okay, I start roll call. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
And I'll be voting aye. Very good.
Hey, Commissioners, just real briefly, the other project that we're well into in there for the Council on Aging, I've been forwarding you some of the things that we run into as we go, and that's why we have a little bit of a contingency on these projects, is once you start tearing open a building that old, you just never know. And
Kind of coming,
I think I sent you all the video of the water line. When they put pressure to it, it just started spitting some water out. So
I think we found why they
had.
abandoned the kitchen back there.
Well,
I saw that video.
Yeah, based on the memo from, or the notes from the contractor, I think there were like 3 or 4 different areas where it was actually spewing water. And they replaced was like about 200 feet of pipe.
Yes. So basically, our goal as we've been moving forward is to get everything out of the tunnels down there that we can. So when we moved the boilers up to replace where the original 1963 boiler was with our 2 efficient ones, we're getting out that piping that's underneath in the tunnel. We had water lines that were, when they did the remodel, copper down to where it reaches galvanized running underneath in the tunnel, coming back up and going back to copper. So everything you see was copper, but everything underneath was galvanized, behind the walls galvanized. And that's where we started having issues as galvanized pipe. When you put it with water, sooner or later it's going to bust.
Especially hooking copper.
Hey, at least it
galvanized.
At least it busted now while we're in construction mode, rather than hey, check it out, it's brand new and everywhere.
Sure, it had a dielectric union hooked to it too, so it didn't cause any problems.
Tons of fun.
Okay, well, that's good. I did see
But
that
we
video.
still couldn't have built that building.
Oh, you're right. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the building was donated to the county, and I think the county's being a good steward of the building by redoing it and getting it in good shape and utilizing it for the community.
Well, it's a landmark of the community. And it's
It is.
something that you guys have taken an interest in saving and making sure that the public will always have it. So, appreciate that.
Been a hospital in that location since the 1800s.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I thought
sir.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, we appreciate it. I think it's all come together from getting the building to everything we're trying to do here. It's a win-win for Leavenworth County. So,
I think it's happened pretty fast too.
yeah.
Thank
As far
you,
as
Keith.
government moves, I think it's moved really fast.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, thank you. All right, item F, consider a motion to approve an agreement with Leavenworth County Rural Water District 7 for water line relocation for 158th Street project. Good morning, Bill.
Morning, Commissioners. So today, for your consideration, we do have an agreement with the Rural Water District. This agreement is a bit past its ideal execution date because the project did move forward prior to the Water District reaching out and asking for a written agreement to be prepared. So the agreement that was operated under was the water line is located in a private easement. The county acquired additional right-of-way for the project over the top of the senior rights that were vested by that water line easement. There are a couple sections of water line and 3 crossings that do need to be relocated to a deeper or new location in order to accommodate the improvements. The Water District was willing to work with the county to accommodate our time frame for the grant application, which was appreciate their willingness to work with us on that. So we were able to get their engineer to design the sections of water line that needed to be relocated. That cost was $16,706.90. But then they were willing to allow us to bid the water line relocation as a part of our project and be inspected as a part of the project, which ultimately is going to help save the county money. And so they have a lot of work with the new school district and all the different activities within their water district down there, and could not accommodate our time frame, which is perfectly acceptable. It's a good alternative. It is the same process, I believe, that we used on Eisenhower Road in order to relocate that water line, where we contract out and bid that work. I think it's an example of the way we could do some things in the future with the water districts in order to help accommodate their services and also be able to bid that portion of work. The agreement, more or less, states that we are going to pay the design costs of the relocation, and it acknowledges the fact that the portions of the water line that weren't relocated as part of this project, or all portions that were still within their easement that had senior rights over our right-of-way acquisition, would be the responsibility of the county in the future, or the city, if that became a city street at some point, say in the next 30 years, and they wanted to put curb and gutter in there. They're not relinquishing their rights to the easement that they acquired. And so if the city wanted to come in at some later date, assuming city, as this is going to be a new project that should accommodate the use of the county for the next several decades, but at some future date, if that became a city street, they wanted this in writing, stating that the entity making the improvements is still responsible despite the fact that we acquired the right-of-way.
I think we're lucky the water district's going to allow to go to bid instead of just doing it.
Yeah, they were accommodating, which is
Right.
We notified them a couple months back. The project is scheduled to start March 7th. So the time frame was about a 5-month process, but that coincided with a lot of other work that they had. And I would like to thank the Water District. They were very agreeable and did a really nice job of working with us to try to get us to where we're at here today.
State statute says they do not have to bid water district projects. So this is good. And who do on the motion? Who would be authorized to sign this agreement? Would that be you or Mr. Lawfrey?
That'd be the chairman.
Okay. All right. Nothing else? I'll make a motion. All right. Well, we did.
It says agreement not to exceed.
Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve that the chairman sign an agreement with Rural Water District 7 for relocation for water line on 158th Street project not to exceed $22,000.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? I like this. Is good
Well, the
stuff.
discussion would be that we're moving ahead on a great project that's going to make that area.
It should have been done in 2004. Okay.
But we're moving ahead.
Honestly, we were knocking a lot off of that list back then. Every time I come up, there's one 2004, 2006. I'm glad to see we're finally knocking this thing.
That's
out.
why I think the Cushing building, it's moving so fast.
Yeah, you're right.
For government.
It's just going to make it with the amount of traffic that travels into between Baser and Bonner and that area. It's the what do we call it? We don't say safety. We say
The safety improvements to the roadway network?
Yeah. I want to say it in the politically correct way.
But it was justified in 2004, so it's really justified in 2022.
Think of the population gains.
Okay. We got a motion and a second, correct?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
And I'm voting aye. Very good. I like seeing that stuff. Okay, G, consider a motion to award the Bridge F46 replacement construction inspection services to MHS an amount not to exceed $113,697.08.
Commissioners, today for your consideration, we do have the construction engineering services for both F46 and E18. We did advertise these through our normal advertising process of notifying at least 5 to 7 engineering firms and putting it on the county website. From that initial advertising of the project, we only received one proposal. Due to the lack of proposals, we did reach out to both Olson and post this advertisement on Drexel for an additional 2 weeks to see if we could have some comparison data to be able to present here today for your consideration. Attached to the board action item, we did have a cost comparison between those different proposals. Our initial proposal was received from MHS. We did receive an additional one from BHC, and then we had our cost analysis from Olson that did not include any of the testing of the materials that would be required as part of the projects. Both MHS and BHC offered a cost savings from the numbers here today being presented if they were awarded both contracts, as F46 is a smaller structure than E18 considerably and wouldn't require the same amount of inspection. You could have one inspector jump back and forth. Some days you would require 2, but not every single day. And so there would be a bit of a cost savings from these numbers having chosen the same one. We are recommending the use of the low-cost one. We have moved forward historically since I've been here with our low-cost solutions with firms that we have had success with. To date, we've had a lot of projects with MHS, but they have offered in those projects a cost savings when the cost fee analysis was completed.
Okay. Questions? Concerns?
My area too.
Go ahead.
Move that we can approve the bridge replacement of Bridge F46 for construction inspection service with MHS not to exceed $113,697.08.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
And I'll be voting aye on that also. Okay, next one is H, consider a motion to award the Bridge E18 replacement construction inspection service to MHS in the amount not to exceed $165,596.36.
This is the same situation just described. This structure is a haunch slab bridge, very similar to the bridge constructed on 206th Street. It is one of the bridges designed by Benish. It is currently out to bid. It does have a phone line that is in the process of being relocated and has 2 power poles that need to be relocated, but we've been assured by both utility providers that they will be out of the way by May. It has a hard start date by May 15th in order to get the bridge constructed prior to winter, in order to get the asphalt work completed on the roadway. It is on County Route 30. As of yesterday, we'd only had one contractor pull the information off of Drexel that I would recognize as a prime contractor.
Ready for a motion?
Questions? Ready to go ahead, Jeff?
I make a motion that we award Bridge E18 replacement construction inspection services to MHS in an amount not to exceed $165,596.36.
I'll second it. Motion is second. Any discussion? Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
And I'm aye. Okay.
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
Okay, next item is consider a motion to approve the Council on Aging to enter into a contract with Accessible Solutions, Inc. for a cloud-based client software. Good morning.
Good morning.
Connie.
For your consideration, I have a contract with Accessible Solutions for a cloud-based software. I've talked with Larry about this as well. It requires no download on any of the county machines, but right now we have 5 different departments using 5 different paper-based systems or different state software with no way to see one comprehensive look at each of the clients that we serve. So this software would allow us to have one system we log into to track all of the services that each of our clients receive at the Council on Aging. This is I've budgeted for this expense for this year. Accessible Solutions provided the most cost-advantageous software to meet the unique needs of what it is that we do, from meal delivery to transportation to human services.
Questions, concerns, Commissioners? I don't. I'm Jeff. Vicki, I don't have any. Okay. Can I get a motion? And if we tack on that 6,880, is that correct, Connie?
Yes.
How much is the tack on?
6,880.
Commissioners, this is a ongoing contract. It'll be multi-year, so that's why it came to the board. Typically, this price would just be approved at the department head level. So as far as the dollar amount, you don't need to make that part of your motion. It's just the agreement with them, because this will be going on year to year. And so it's not just $6,880.
Well, I knew that, but
Okay.
I wanted to see, get some number. Okay, that's fine then.
Okay. Motion to approve the Council on Aging to enter into a contract with Accessible Solutions for a cloud-based client software.
I'll second it. Motion is second.
I just have
Go
a
ahead, Mike.
question for Mark. We work with the other entities on IT improvements and those type of things. This is kind of integrated together with that.
Well, this is different in that it's a software specific for the Council on Aging. The other projects we're working on are more hardware infrastructure based. This is software based.
Now, does that other organization provide software as well, or
Not for something like this.
okay?
Okay. Any other discussion? Start the roll call. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
I vote aye. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Thanks.
He's getting
He's got another thing coming
Yeah,
up.
might as well get
Uh-oh.
comfortable. Presentation discussions, new Council on Aging logo discussion. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's like I never left. My staff and I have been working for the last year or so on getting some feedback, especially on our logo services that we offer, things like that. One of the questions I think I was asked in 3 different ways during my interview was about engaging different parts of the population, how we were going to capture that 50-plus age group. One of the ways that we've tried to do that is in the programming that we're offering now, but we got some really specific feedback about our logo and how folks told me many times they didn't feel they were old enough to come to the Council on Aging. Like, we would do a really good job of serving that 75 to 80 crowd. Not so great in the programming we were offering at that time for a little bit younger crowd. So one of the things they suggested was taking a fresh look at our logo. So what you see there is the work that we've engaged with a graphic designer to give us something a little more lively, a little more vibrant, shows kind of the evolution of aging process, gets some movement in there. We have 6 different departments at the Council on Aging to help kind of explain that, but using the tagline, Live Well, Age Well, our logo now looks pretty Victorian, a little dated, so we're hoping that this new fresh look will invite some more people into our space. We've already this year seen almost 40 new people that have never walked through the doors of the Council on Aging before, based on the programming and things we're doing. So didn't want to launch this until you had a chance to see it, offer any suggestions, discussions, comments about what you see.
I just had a question. Council on Aging, do you have a specific age that you target to say this is where our services begin for you, or do you?
Yeah, we do. We have some funding that we receive. Meals on Wheels is specifically for 60 and above.
60 and above.
We receive some Older Americans Act funding that would put us in that 60 and above. But for many of our other activities, our leisure and learning activities, we target a 50 and above. So we've got some new activities rolling out to catch that little younger activity, offering some things in the evening starting in March for the first time since the pandemic.
There you go, Mike.
Hey, you're with me on the 50 thing. Hey, I think it's pretty neat. Some
Come on over.
They had one the other day that I saw was the music.
Oh, the cardio drumming.
Oh man, I shared that over 3,000. That was pretty cool.
We got
Even I like
2,000
that.
views on that on Facebook. So that class starts in March on the 6th,
Okay, yeah.
5 o'clock.
Looks like you had a pretty good crowd there.
Oh, we did. So we're having a lot of fun trying to work on ways to engage different audiences, different age groups. So I think that one's going to be a hit.
Yeah, I think so. Very good. And it's getting out there, which I like to see.
Yeah.
So very good. Okay, any other concerns, thoughts?
Looks good.
Looks good to me.
Like it.
All right.
You ready to roll?
What's that?
You ready to roll now?
Ready to roll. Thank you.
All right. Hey, thank you. All right. Appraisers quarterly report.
Last but not least.
I was going to say that. Come on down.
We don't want to see it.
This is like one of my favorite quarterly reports. I don't know what you had. So he's always so informative.
Planning and zoning.
Every year at this time, we have to, county appraisers are required to value all property that's taxable or real estate, and send change of value notices by March, on or before March 1st. Of each year, we're required to value all real estate except for agricultural land at its market value. We have 32,009 parcels of real estate that will send change of value notices on the 1st of March is when we're sending them. The property owners have 30 days from the mail date on those notices to contact us in any way they choose to schedule an appeal on that property. Property owners have 2 chances to appeal for a year. They can choose one or the other. We prefer this time to have those appeals when we send change of value notices. They can also pay taxes under protest if they haven't had a prior appeal for that tax year and appeal their property value at that point in time. I have a breakout of just how the parcels break out there. Then in January, we're also required to value taxable personal property, but taxpayers are required to report taxable personal property to our office by the 15th of March. We send out about approximately 5,500 renditions of property that we've had on the tax rolls for personal property to property owners to update and sign and return by March 15th. If they're not, we are required by law to assess a penalty of 5% per month up to 25%. Failure to file, which goes is 50% if they fail to file. We are required to put those penalties on, and the Board of Tax Appeals is the only entity that has the authority to abate any of those penalties. So if they want to have a reasonable excuse or whatever, they have to appeal to the Board of Tax Appeals for that. Agricultural land, we do not value at market value. It's valued by the Property Valuation Director of the Department of Revenue. Those values are given to us. They're not market value. They're a use value. Crop ground went up an average of 2%, and grassland went up an average of 10.5%. That's kind of a flip from years past. Crop ground went up quite a bit over the last few years. It finally has tapered off, and grassland has gone up a little bit more this year. They didn't give us they usually do, but not really until we send out change of value notices do they give us documentation backing up those values.
What is they have a formula they use for that, or how does that work?
Yes, they have a formula. It's based on the landlord's share of net income. It's an 8-year average of an 8-year average. So they average each of the last 8 years, 8-year averages for the previous 8 years, and they of that, and so it goes quite a bit. So it takes quite a bit to move those values. But yeah, it's laid out pretty close in law, and that formula's been up to.
But it is moving up pretty good, 10%. That's.
Yeah. Well, we've seen crop ground go up 15% in the past. So, grassland is significantly lower than crop ground generally, the values. But
Prices of farming this year, we'll get a lower year this year in the 8-year average.
Yeah,
it takes a long time for those low years to get into that average.
So back on when we're talking about agriculture ground, the appraiser's office is not appraised. It's by value. It's by its use and the landlord's share of net income.
Yeah, that's the landlord's share of the net income.
Okay. So if somebody did put their farm in an agriculture preserve, we're hearing a lot of that here lately. People that don't own the ground want people to have an agriculture preserve. It wouldn't lower their taxes any if they put their property in an agriculture preserve.
If it's still qualified for agricultural use, no.
Well, yeah, it'd be agriculture, but it's still, so that wouldn't, so an ag preserve, there wouldn't be any benefit for anyone to put their farm in an ag preserve, only for
first taxes.
So when you're talking an ag reserve, what actually are you?
That it would always be.
That it would always be.
It would remain a farm. It could never build a house on it. It could never do anything like that.
It wouldn't change. No, it would not change.
So it wouldn't change anything. Okay. But people could put their property in an agriculture preserve, I guess, if we had a program, or well, the state has a program, I'm sure.
They do.
But it wouldn't benefit anybody unless it's just your personal belief that you want this property to remain in there.
Reserved in
agriculture.
For that use.
Okay.
Might affect the market value, but not the ag.
It would sit down. Well,
Two
yeah.
are not related necessarily.
It's just people that don't own the property that want people to do it, so
Understand that.
there's no benefit to it.
Okay. Any other questions? Anything else we want to go over?
The countywide average sale price increased 2021. The number of new homes built increased 39%, but last year it was down a little bit. If you look at the average sale prices, you can see what average sale prices went over the year. We built 339 new homes. We had 1,435 sales of homes. That you see, so that number's up quite a bit. It was pretty close, up quite a bit last year, but that's up quite a bit from several years ago. You can see how that's increased over time. So our market has had quite a bit of activity, and still not at the levels of new homes we built in like 2005, 2004, 2006. Those were the high years, but. And then I have the numbers broken out by city. Point out that rural homes average sale price is $434,000. It's pretty significant, and it's risen pretty significantly over the last few years. I did put Linwood and Easton in there. I hadn't included those, but they are combined because they have so few sales in there. We did a trend. I put in there a trend for paired sales. What paired sales does is looks at properties that sold twice over a period of time. We try to eliminate any properties that are being fixed up in between the two sales. So those people that buy and remodel and then resell, we're trying to eliminate those sales. Analysis indicates a 15% per year trend, just comparing 2020 to 2021. There was 46 properties in the county that resold. And those indicated a 15% year trend. I also included, this is our ratio study, which we do is compared sale prices of property to our January 1st last year's value. So this is all the sales from January 1st to December 31st, the sale price, what the property sold for compared to our values established January 1st of 2021. And the state does this as a big part of our grade, whether we're in compliance with state standards. They do real similar to this. Total county was 84%. Most of those numbers are in that range. You look down at Easton, it was at 64%. Those numbers last year were about in the low to mid 90s, 90 to 95. We raised values 8% last year, and we dropped all the way down to the mid 80s. That's how much the market moved this year. Those numbers by themselves would be out of compliance with state standards. They will take trends and trend those sale prices back to January 1. And so I don't think we'll be found out of state compliance. I think those numbers will, once they put their trends on them, they will. So if a sale, if you have a 10% trend and a sale sells in July 1st, they'll trend that sale price back to January 1st, 5%. I think that will bring us back in. And most counties in the state are in a similar circumstance.
Just a point of clarification there, Bob. Your current appraisal is actually below the state threshold that you're allowed, not above, but below,
Right.
by approximately 6% on the current trends.
If you're going to the bottom of 90%.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. it's 6% low at the very bottom.
I believe didn't you predict this last year that this could happen?
We kind of saw it coming.
Right.
I mean, late the year 2020.
Because it was running so tight anyway.
So even though we're seeing these double-digit increases in property valuation, the assessor is placing on these properties, it still puts us below what's mandated by the state.
This is 2021.
Right. I get that, but I'm just
so
showing
we're-
the trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to get it into that.
Right.
100%. The last page I have here is what the values actually did. So total county, the valuation increased 15.16%. 2.44% of that was due to new construction, new homes, new businesses, new commercial. 12.72% of that was due to revaluation. You can compare that to years earlier. I have that's the total number from 2020 was for 2021 is 8.37%, and you go on back. If you look at that reval percent change, it stays pretty consistent from 12 to 14% for all the cities, with the exception of Easton was 27%. You can look at the total change, at the ranges there. Linwood was 27%, but a significant portion of that was new construction. You built a new Dollar General store there, and that makes a big difference in a small city. When you get down to reval, it comes up about the same.
Here it comes.
I thought it loud enough.
You felt me thinking it, Jason.
Easton's 27% too. Did you get a new Dollar General?
No.
They're gonna get one. They're gonna get
See,
one.
Doug took it from me.
Here it
Easton,
comes.
Jeff, I was being quiet.
if you look at, I have a few years past here in Easton. You see their increases weren't as much as other portions of the county.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with Easton is you don't get hardly any sales. Some years you don't have any sales, new sales. And this year we've had a few sales that said we were a little bit low. Again, these are percents, so even though the values are still lower, percentage-wise it went up more. You raise a lower valued property up $10,000. It's a bigger percent than a higher value.
Some of those
property.
houses sold for pretty good
So,
change.
and we saw that, even in some of the cities where the lower value properties, they went up a larger percentage, but in dollar amount, they did not go up as much as some of those higher, near as much as some of those higher ones. So, that is what happens. Is there any other questions on this?
Well, no question, but that I'm just looking at the average sale price of new homes. How it has gone from $261 in 2015 to $274 or to $374 in 2021. That's
Significant.
significant.
Yeah.
That is.
I mean, it's
That
like,
tells you we have a housing shortage in this county.
New homes have gone up greatly.
And that's average.
yeah, I mean, it's,
That's huge. That's
Just think of our young people that are trying to buy a new home.
there's not the availability of the market for
It's just no inventory.
inventory for entry-level
Vacant
buyers. It's
lots
just,
have gone up a tremendous amount. Just the lots.
and we're losing our young people for that reason.
Right.
I've had some of these people tell me that build these houses. Why should they build one for $250 or $270 when the $400,000 ones are selling? So that mindset's going to hurt the young
Yep.
people trying to get a place out here in the the cities or the county.
And then the state, the way they're figuring the taxes using the formula they currently have.
Right, and we're
is
not
just-
incentivizing affordable housing at all.
Oh, the comparable sales?
Yeah, they
No
need
building.
to change their formula.
Oh,
On the state.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We've been telling them.
But they'd rather,
Use a comparable sale on an automobile and tax it that way.
Well,
they're
they at least need to
focusing
tweak the formula.
It's okay,
just-
Mark.
Don't do that now.
Just don't throw that
Just
out
don't
there.
throw
They're,
that
they're
out.
in
I'm just
session.
saying.
They're in session right now. Let's not throw that out there.
I mean,
Yeah, they're working on getting our local ad valorem tax.
I mean, it just gets back to the
for
same
property
thing that
tax
they.
reliefs.
but we thank you for all the work that you're doing, and
Yeah.
And then it's always interesting to see these numbers.
we know
so
that
it
it's,
really is.
And again, we're just trying to get within that 90 to 100%.
yep,
We're below that now. We're just trying to get there by January 1st. No guarantees we'll be there
Right.
as the year goes on.
Good
but
luck.
That's where we're trying to get by January 1st.
Yeah, Mike.
I just had one more question for you. I had a couple phone calls on ag. So the question was, well, if we have horses, it's not considered ag, but if we have cattle, it's considered ag. So is that a state standard, or is that something that you said as a
It's an
standard?
interpretation. There's nothing that says in law. So if you have like a horse, we kind of consider that a pet. You're not. We're trying to
They're
look
an
at people that
expensive
are
pet.
raising an agricultural product, taking that product, trying to sell that product, taking it to market, or or it's going to somebody for hopefully food or some other product. It doesn't necessarily have to be food, but and people, if they're raising horses and breeding horses, yes. But if you just have a horse out there, you got one or two horses that you ride or do whatever, you're not raising a product. You're not producing an agricultural good. And so that's where we're. The statute says land dedicated to the production of agricultural products, and we're saying that land is not dedicated to producing an agricultural product when you have a horse.
Okay. Well, the way I hear how they're looking at it is we raise horses and we go do barrel racing, or we go.
but that's
leisure. So they look at it like it's an agricultural use.
Well,
but that's leisure.
I mean, if somebody's breeding and raising them, and I don't know, we might have one or two of those, but for the most part, we try not.
How many acres you talking?
Oh, I don't know how many. They don't have a lot of acres.
Bail a little
but-
hay off of it to feed your horse. That's ag.
It would.
Yeah, that would be ag.
It would be nice if the statute had a minimum number of acres
Yeah.
for ag, but it does not, and that's a big problem
Because
we've
they
dealt with
can
for years.
do baling of hay, and then
Right.
Yeah, and that does trigger the ag if you bale hay.
Sign the vacant land up in
Yeah.
ag preserve.
So, well, just a couple things that people have asked me about.
Building unit next to that Dollar General.
One thing I wanted
Go ahead,
to
Jeff.
point out, the way Bob has to do this on the appraisal activities, the parcel count by class. So it's kind of misleading because it says exempt number of parcels, 751. You got to remember that Fort Leavenworth is counted as one parcel, basically. So all the housing up there, all the apartments, all the buildings, the schools,
businesses.
everything is one parcel. So that 751 exempt parcels, that's counting all of Fort Leavenworth as one. So this,
Okay.
if you change that number to 4,000, I don't know
Yeah,
how much is
I
up
mean,
there.
if it was divided up into parcels like a city,
Yeah.
surveyed out, it's not all surveyed out and platted. It's not platted.
Yeah.
It would be
So
much.
when,
in the thousands.
so when you look at that
That's a
number,
good point, Jeff.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't. Okay.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does your county, are you in a part of that, like county, is there a state county appraisers association?
Yes,
or-
there is.
Do they ever look at the state formula for how the property taxes are handled and offer legislation or offer options for the legislature to change the way it's?
We have people that do talk to legislatures, and so does the director, the Property Evaluation Division also does too. But we have people that represent the Appraisers Association that present stuff to the legislature in hearings on bills and stuff. And we do sometimes sponsor or try to get somebody to sponsor bills. But the legislature over the last 5+ years, maybe more, probably more, has been somewhat, I don't want to say hostile, but I'm trying to look for the proper.
They want to be able to lay the blame back at the local level. They don't want to accept
us
And keep the
Okay.
money. And keep the money.
and see us as the problem, not,
Right.
and want to
No.
lay the blame on property taxes
On the locals.
the county appraisers.
Right.
And then therefore they don't necessarily,
If they try to
always
fix
sound
it,
the
yeah,
county
they
commission
can't.
gets
If
to
they
share
fix
that
it,
blame.
if they fix it,
A big
then
share.
they can't shift.
Oh, you mean like fix it like something simple, like if you pay $400,000 for your house, that's what the property taxes are, and maybe a rate of inflation increase?
Yeah.
Commissioners, a couple of weeks ago, I sent you the link to the state website that shows by county breakout the percentage of taxes that are collected based on either residential or commercial, and that Leavenworth County is actually we have the highest reliance upon residential valuation of any county in the state, and primarily that's because of the amount of exempt property that we have. So if you put any of those prisons back on the tax rolls or on the tax rolls, we would be more reliant upon commercial than we are right now. So I think that is just a good indication of how those exempt properties impact where we
Michael's
get our taxes.
Housing and
But you
the
know,
businesses that are
people don't care.
located in those places.
People don't care. They see Leavenworth County Appraiser's Office, and they think we're the ones that set these programs up and dictate. When we know it's been filtered down on us on guidelines that we have to go through. And when you say Leavenworth, it's like every county goes out and sets their own appraisal. That's not the way it's done.
But that's what.
Go ahead, Vicki.
No, it's because that's what certain entities want the perception to be, as in the state officials.
That's why it was in 1965 they passed the LAVT money
Yep.
to lower,
To
to send it
relieve
back
real
to the
estate.
counties to lower property taxes.
Right.
Okay.
Well, we beat that horse before. Speaking of horses, so anything else, Mike? You got anything?
That's it.
Doug,
No,
Vicki.
just can't wait to get them green envelopes in there.
Oh, we'll say one thing. There's a video that's on the county website about appraisal and the role of the
should view
appraiser's
it.
office.
Yeah,
It's really good.
It is.
I think we sent that back out on, if we haven't, we will. We should have sent it back out on Facebook too.
Yep, it's excellent.
We have a couple of videos that I think that was put together, and one of them is how the appraiser's office work, and the other one is how your taxes
Or divided out.
shows, the
Yep.
school districts,
breakdown.
so on. And that the county's just responsible for sending the bill.
Yeah.
We don't set the taxes for the cities and the townships and the school districts.
Oh, I would like to see that change someday at the legislature, that you mailed your portion of your taxes to your school district instead of the county. County gets their share, then you write your check to your school district for the other share.
Always is up here. Okay.
And I can tell you which one's going to be a larger check to write.
We all know that.
Yeah. But Mike, you say we all know that. I don't think the majority of my constituents know
No,
that.
I said we know.
Yeah.
We know. The people
Yeah,
I know.
I
The
mean-
people I talk to, I have to explain that to them.
They
that's not the way
definitely
to-
blame this
Yeah.
body
Right.
for the
Because it
taxes.
says Leavenworth County on it,
And-
which is not the thing. No, I've been up here a year now. I see how hard it is to keep these things low, especially all the exemptions that we have on property and things like that. I think we do a real good job, and I appreciate you bringing this to me. I always enjoy looking at this in the review. Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks, Bob.
All righty. Just There's no public comment. Mark, do you have anything?
No.
Let's see. Commissioner Smith?
Zoomed the Mark meeting yesterday. I've got Basher City Council tonight. I got Fairmount Township tomorrow night, and then next Monday, you and I have the State of the City address by Mayor Drennan at Falcon Lakes.
Yeah. 11:30.
That's it.
That's great. I enjoy that. Mike?
JCAB on Thursday.
Oh, JCAB, yeah, it was canceled last week because of the weather,
Right.
so we do have a JCAB meeting next Thursday.
This Thursday, isn't it? Is it next Thursday or this Thursday?
Well, I thought it was the 3rd of March.
Okay.
I think it's next week.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
Mike?
ready.
Well, we have that LCDC, what day is that, the 4th of March,
Right.
the lunch? That's coming up.
The annual meeting.
Yeah, the annual meeting. And then I met with the Linwood city clerk yesterday, talked about they're having water line improvements through the whole city, and they're getting grants, and
Great.
they're really on making some progress there.
I see on this report they are.
Had a couple meetings with our phone conferences with George from Tonganoxie, and we visited about the base grants, and it worked out the way it worked out. But then I've scheduled with Alexandria folks. We're going to have a town hall meeting on the 19th at the fire station of April.
Springdale?
Springdale, yeah, at the fire station.
Okay.
So.
Yeah?
I had the Leavenworth City Council meeting last night. Commissioner Bowder expressed her appreciation for being on the Transportation Committee. Met with Easton City. The county has a triangular-shaped piece that was a FEMA buyout. We're going to lease that back to the adjacent property owner. We do that once in a while. This is the one that's got some debris on it, and they're going to take care of all that stuff if we lease it to them, so the county won't have to clean that up. And then working on the flatland landfill with all the adjacent property owners and getting all that worked out.
Vicki?
We did workforce partnership, the 2 meetings yesterday via Zoom, and then I'm going to listen in to the Transit Authority meeting today. It's a 3-hour meeting this afternoon. And then I will officially join for the next month's meeting for the Transit Authority, and I will be going next week for, what do you call it, like an in-service orientation at their offices to kind of learn about the ins and outs of it. And then and also getting ready to do kind of the same for the NECAP organization as well.
I've just got a couple. This Thursday, Lansing's going to have a special meeting to approve the base grant that we've all worked on, so we'll really appreciate that, and I know they do too. Also, at the last meeting, they usually do the 4th of July celebration, which, we usually have 3,000 or 4,000 people at Bernard Park. This year, there's going to be a lot of construction going on out there, finally getting utilities in there, which has for years. So right now, it looks like and I'll get you more information, the fireworks and 4th of July celebration is going to be at Town Center, which the city of Lansing bought about 1.5 years ago, so we can try to market ourselves.
Where's that at?
It's right across. It's right by Sonic.
Right, yeah.
You know,
Oh,
Right there,
okay.
the big,
All right.
long
Well, I'm just
fountain
saying,
thing.
you'll be able to still see it from Mr. Van Perry's house.
Yeah. That's the way it's looking right now. That's all I
I
have.
don't like that, Commissioner.
He's going to have a barbecue. He's going to have a barbecue at his place.
Dave, it'll be coming back. Don't worry.
All you got to do is provide the meat.
Okay. Anything else? No, go ahead, Mike.
I just had a question on the meeting with the city of Leavenworth. Is that all now confirmed for the 5th of April, or is that what we said?
Yeah, Commissioners, I did send that to you at the time they proposed, and I had, I think,
6 o'clock?
3 responses that said that they could make that. Assumed that y'all.
So what?
And it'll be at the riverfront.
Is that where
Yes.
it's Riverfront?
And what day was it again? I didn't know it had been confirmed.
I think it's April 5th. I think that's
Okay.
the date. But,
It'll be a Tuesday. That's a Tuesday.
It'll be on our agenda.
Okay.
And you just need agenda items?
Yes, I have received a few. I haven't received from
Send
all
mine.
yet, though.
So please get them to him. Anything else, Mike?
Nope.
Commissioners, and none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Aye.
Culberson?
Aye.
Commissioner Connors, and I say aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a good afternoon.